Okay.
This meeting is being recorded. Hi, everyone. It's Jade Bolden, and I'm here with my best friend, Debbie Westcott. Hi, Debbie.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So glad
Hi.
to be here with all of you today.
Awesome. I'm in Florida, and Debbie's in Arizona. We've been talking lately, and we just felt so strongly that we needed to share a topic with everybody, a very important topic. Um, so before we jump into that topic, I just wanted to share that Debbie and I have been friends for almost 14 years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, and um, we have this friendship that I wish other people have as well. This like I feel like we've matured together, but even when we started, it was pretty mature anyways. And we
Mm-hmm.
just want to share with people how it works, because it's not just friendship, it's a skill that will help them forever. Yeah.
Yeah, in all
Yeah,
relationships.
in build Zion together, right? And that's what we all want to do. So anyways, this joy of connection, this joy of oneness and unity, we want to share this love with everyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
we want to invite others to join us and be able to have conversations like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a
So
beautiful, fulfilling, and purposeful thing. And
yeah,
it's
it's
I
me.
keep thinking of Elsa, or anyway, of Frozen, when he says we finish each
Each
other's
other's sandwiches.
sandwiches. Yeah,
Yeah,
sentences.
no,
So
it's very true. It's very true. I think, we kind of feed into each other and kind of like know what the other person needs at the right time. And
mhm.
it's possible for everyone. So yeah, it's just so important that we share this. So having said all that, the topic today is about emotional and spiritual maturity. Okay. So if we kind of clarify what that is, we can encourage people to develop it, because sometimes people don't realize that they're not there, and they don't know what's wrong with life and
Mhm.
their relationships. But if we could encourage people to have this emotional and spiritual maturity, we can communicate and connect, and then be able to have this progression, this change, that we help each other with. Because honestly, we can't go through this life alone, or, go on to the eternities alone, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about having the emotional and spiritual maturity that makes it feel safe
Yeah.
to express yourself, to ask for help, to grow. And I think all of us really want that feeling of safety in a relationship, and to feel that we can speak our mind and do it kindly and considerately, and know that we're going to be loved, right? No
Mhm.
matter
No
what.
matter
So,
what.
yeah.
Yeah, this unconditional love. Yeah, and so we, of course, we have a, a relationship with Heavenly Father, and hopefully it's stronger and stronger each day. And as we take on that responsibility, we can turn up as our best healed self with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, I wish that, at church, when we have meetings and stuff, people can just be free and open, and not fear that people will be hurt and offended and hold back, or hide who you really are. So, that will be truly heaven on earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what we're working for,
Yep.
is
Yeah,
that's what we're learning heaven, right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
without further ado, we're going to share with you a list that we've come up with, that just want to invite you to consider adopting. And once you've adopted and successfully incorporated it into your life, continue practicing it and share it with others, and encourage others to emotionally mature and spiritually mature too. We all can do it. So anyways, let's do this, Debbie.
Yeah. Sounds great.
All right. So the first thing here we put down is a emotionally mature person is objective about their emotions. They're objective about their feelings, and they don't take things personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about that, when I'm objective about my emotions, it's almost like I step outside of
Mhm.
myself
Yes.
and look as an observer
Mm-hmm.
and think about, why am I feeling this?
Mm-hmm.
What is it trying to teach me? What maybe is unhealed in me? What haven't I processed from childhood or teenage years or whatever, that child regression part. Um, anyway, if I'm able to do that instead of immediately point fingers or place
Yeah.
blame
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, it helps me be more mature. It helps
Yeah.
me be more accountable or responsible. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not controlled by the emotions. Um,
right.
Taking it personally kind of means like we make it our identity. So if we feel that
Mhm.
negative feeling, then that means we're negative, we're a bad person. And so if we take it to that angle, then people don't want to feel their feelings and don't want to talk about it and resolve it, because then when they face it, they think they're bad. So for example, people will say I am angry instead of I feel angry, right?
Yep.
Because it's not who you are, it's just experience. And it's a clue, like Debbie said. It's like, hang on, is there something in my childhood? Is there something like a false belief, a false thinking that I'm perpetuating, and it's come up? So let's
Yeah.
resolve it. Yeah, rewire, reprogram.
Yeah. I like to ask people when I do coaching with people, it's like, what are you making it mean?
Yeah.
Like if someone says something or does something or something happens, what are
Yes.
we making it mean that
Yes.
is conjuring up these emotions within us? Because really, no one else can make us feel anything
Right.
unless we, on some level, are agreeing with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless there's a
And
little bit of
so,
truth, like you believe something there.
yeah, there might, and so we can pause, like we said, and be that observer, kind of step
Mhm.
outside of ourselves, use our spirit self
Yeah.
to be the boss. Let the spirit part of us be the boss and be like, is that true? Is that
Mhm.
accurate? And even if a little part of it is, in that moment, we can make a choice to be
Mhm.
like, this is not the truth of who I am. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to shift this. I'm going to figure out what that's about and heal that part of me or change it or delete it, whatever you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said that. What meaning did you give that? Whatever the
Mhm.
situation was, what meaning, that's why you have these feelings. So like check into that, ask yourself all those questions. It's very mature, introspective, and then it gets you to solutions really quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's being that spectator and just looking at yourself from an objective point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
So the next thing here is not letting the emotions control you, right? Not reacting to it, and not being destructive to self and others. Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes me think about the quote from Viktor Frankl.
Mm,
Um, Between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space is our power to choose.
yeah.
And so we've talked about this before in other videos where when something happens, sometimes we immediately want to react or we have a knee jerk reaction to something. And it's probably a false pattern,
Mm,
a false belief, or something that we've learned
right.
um, that might is probably not healthy. But if we can just press pause for a
Mm-hmm.
minute, who, yeah, who says that we have to answer to a stimulus right away?
No.
Like who said we don't have to?
Mm-hmm.
We can just take a moment and decide what is going to be the healthiest, most spiritually, emotionally mature, what's the most beneficial, how do we show up as our best self. We
Mm-hmm.
can consider all of those things before the next step. And then it becomes a response rather than a reaction.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because that's our freedom. Like Viktor Frankl says, we have the freedom to
Yeah.
choose. So just take advantage of that freedom instead of reacting. So if you grew up with a family that yells and shouts at each other, and then they yell and shout back and forth, then it's easy for you to kind of react that way. But then you can say, hang on, pause. I don't want to be like that anymore. I'm going to be this way. I'm going to be, civil and respectful, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it's a skill. We just need to practice. And maybe you didn't get it right the first couple of times and keep going. And maybe you fall backwards and then, move forward again. But yeah, we could all learn to just be responsive instead. The thing is, well, when we're reacting, we are destructive to ourselves and destructive to others. So what we're inviting people to do is learn the skills so that you don't keep hurting yourself. If we have unresolved hurts, it's just natural for humans to lash out, hurt people, hurt others, right?
Yeah.
So, how are we going to have a peaceful world when people keep hurting each other, right? So we need to take that responsibility and resolve our hurts. Yeah, we can do it.
Resolve our hurts. Yep.
Yeah.
So we can show up better. And then if you think about, I don't know if we're going to get to this later, but it keeps coming to me. If you are embracing that emotionally mature spiritual part of you, when others, lash out at you, you will have the sensibility to say, that person is hurting.
That's it.
And what is this about? And is this the appropriate time I can talk
Yes,
about
please
this?
share that quote. I'm thinking about this quote. Yeah.
Okay. Is that, God's grace was the original plan. There's a book that I read recently called Original Grace, and the thesis of it, or anyway, the idea of it is that that grace is the original plan, and we can return good for good, but we should also return good for evil, or truth for error, or kindness for unkindness. It's the principle from the Sermon on the Mount that we turn the other cheek. And it's not necessarily that we take abuse, it's that we can say stop and say, I can see that you're hurting, or that, something is really bothering you here. And sometimes we can respond to it, and sometimes we can just absorb the loss.
Yeah.
We can absorb the loss because of grace. So this idea of returning good for good and good for evil is that we see what is needed instead of kind of going with our ego mind and deciding what is deserved. And there's such power in that concept to create peace and to show that you do have control over your emotions as an emotionally mature and spiritually mature person.
Yeah, because who are we to judge people whether they deserve something or not? They could have had a horrific childhood, and a gazillion generations of people that have had abuse, so they don't know different. So you just happen to come across their path, and you're in the firing target for them. So it's unfortunate, but it teaches us, can you still love regardless, right? Can you still have this wisdom, right? Can you still have this self-control? Dave Sterling, he once said at a leadership retreat, he says, metabolize the poison and don't pass it on.
Yeah.
And I thought, brilliant, because you can have that maturity to say, you know what, I see that you're hurt. I don't have to hurt too. It's not about me. It's not personal, and I don't want to pass it on to the next person and spread that. So it's here with me. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, don't hold on to it, right? Don't hold on to it. Don't make it mean something.
Just
that it doesn't need to mean.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they must be hurting. hurt people, hurt others, it must be hurting. And so you say, well, the Lord will resolve it, the grace will cover them somehow, all of this will, be compensated somehow, but I don't need to feel it and then, feel personal about it, take it personal. Yeah.
Take it personally.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that.
No, it's so good. I hope everybody is taking notes here.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows, we're still working on all of this.
For sure.
Right?
Things come up all the time, and then we get to a lot of practice.
Yes.
You get to a level where you're like, I'm so proud of myself. I learned stuff and I responded instead of reacted. So it is possible, and that's why we're sharing this with you guys. Yeah. So to encourage people to keep trying. So number 3 here is being brave enough to feel your feelings. Yeah. It's uncomfortable, of course. It's painful, of course, but it's instructive.
Yeah, it is constructive. If we look at the emotions and ask that question, like, why am I feeling this? And where is it coming from? What is it trying to teach me? And just allowing, there's something about just allowing the emotion. We kind of meet it where it's at and allow ourselves to process through it. And it just dissipates so much faster.
Yeah.
And it does take courage. Because when we don't want to feel the feelings, when we're feeling afraid of feeling the feelings, then often we hide, and then that feeling remains, and then it just begins to come up over and over and over again until we're willing to kind of face it head on. And process through it, whatever it is.
Yeah. So, I feel like these feelings are instructive, right? And it'll want attention. It'll keep wanting attention until you actually take the time. You have to give it the time to, realize what it's trying to tell you. Just, ask it, what is it, teaching you, right? But once you feel it, like Debbie said, it passes. So don't keep ignoring it. It's like a pebble in your shoes, right? Just take it out, look at it, take it out, and then you're done.
And often it can be that quick, right? It can be that quick. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out thing all the time. Sometimes it'll show up, that pebble in the shoe, because there's more and more to learn. But often we can, if we're just willing, if we've honed that skill of facing the emotions where they're at, being brave about it, then a lot of times we'll begin to process through it much more quickly. So
I love that. So Debbie and I, we do energy balancing with faith, and we do sessions in which we coach others to do the same. And it's basically helping people be more self-aware. And so that's our number 4 point here. Self-aware as in pause, feel your feeling. What is it? Identify the feelings, give it a name, right? I feel angry, I feel hurt, I feel resentful. And then once we identify what it is, it helps us really to be self-aware. Is that really me? Am I like that? Or is it generational? It could be generational patterns, and we can find it in the generations as well. And then we can say, yeah, it does make sense because I'm my mum's side. They're like this and this. And I think that they're thinking this way. And then, you kind of recognize, oh, that's totally not me. I guess it's them. And I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know who I am, right? But when you first start, you don't know who you are, and as you peel the layers off, then you can like separate you and others, and you can do this much better. But it just helps you be more self-aware.
Yeah, you hit on something I think that's really important, is understanding who you are. And we believe that we're all divine children of God, and having that identity, if God is love, then I can be too. Because that's the good quality of my divine heritage, right? That's like the best quality ever. So I can adopt that identity as well, because it's good. It's good for me. It's good for everyone around me. And knowing who we are sometimes is a choice. Sometimes we see people around us that we admire, that we want to emulate, and we can pick out those qualities that we want to adopt and decide that's who I am.
Mhm.
That's who I want to be. And
Yeah,
that's who I'm striving to be.
right.
So that is part of that self-awareness, is
Yeah.
choosing to adopt those qualities and those characteristics and beliefs and behaviors that are healthy.
Mhm.
Um,
So you're intentionally designing yourself because you know that you're a divine being that's supposed to be like Heavenly Father and filled with love. And so anything that doesn't align with that, you can toss it out. And anything
yeah,
that kind of, is good and good report and stuff and is praiseworthy, you're like, oh, I can adopt that and
yeah,
intentionally make that part of me. Yeah. So
yeah.
good.
I love that.
Hmm.
And that, I think so many people know what they don't like, but they haven't chosen what they do like. We
Exactly.
find that a lot in our coaching sessions. Wouldn't you
Mhm.
agree?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Sure.
So that's one of the things that we help people figure out, is like, what do you like and what do you want to create in your life? And that creates a lot more self-awareness. So
Yeah, imagine focusing your creative energy on that instead of, your energy focused on like listing out all of the things that's wrong and what you don't want. It's like, can you keep creating that haphazardly? So like
yeah,
shift over here and see.
yeah, the dramas, the
Yeah,
like having to put out fires all the time, like
yeah,
we don't really we don't have to live like that.
no,
We can
no.
live more peaceful and powerful and purposeful lives. So
Yeah, that's perfect. And it leads us to the next point here that we want to raise the bar. We want progression.
yeah,
Emotionally mature people want to progress, so they allow themselves to take the time to be self-aware, to feel the feels, and intentionally create better behaviors so that they can create better results.
yeah. Like I said earlier, we can resolve things much faster with a forward thinking attitude or a forward thinking
Hmm.
drive. It's like, what what will help me progress further, become better,
Hmm.
create more solutions?
Yeah,
What will help me interact with people better? What will help me love people better?
yeah,
How can I love better?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
those that leads to better results.
yeah. It's just that we have this higher tolerance for joy and low tolerance for all the negative things. And so we keep on asking those questions. How can I this? How can I better that? And then we find solutions because we're asking the right questions.
Yeah,
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 oh, good.
yeah. I love the scriptures say, "Ask, seek, knock." You know, I think often we forget to ask,
Hmm.
through prayer or meditation and
Yeah,
pondering and journaling and all of those things. We forget that we can ask, but then sometimes we know to ask, but then we stop there.
right.
And you know, um, there's some work that we need to do. We need to do our part, and that's the seeking,
Yeah,
right? And then the
yeah,
knocking, I think, is like turn the door handle,
right.
change the behavior,
Do
choose a
something.
different
Mhm.
thought, you
Mhm.
know?
I love
So,
that. Yeah, I love
yeah,
that you did. You brought that in because we do need God to kind of guide us as we make those changes and just keep that connection instead of
yeah.
passively asking and then just sitting there, waiting for it to fall from the sky.
Like osmosis, like
Right.
it's not
And
gonna happen.
it's
God,
fulfilling though.
yeah, God desires for our what's the quote? He's more worried about our progress than our
Yeah.
comfort, our
Yeah.
potential than our
Yeah.
comfort.
Yeah.
So we get to choose, and that power of choice, or another word for it is agency, is like
Right.
the greatest universal law and gift that we
Mhm.
have. So we
Yeah.
can learn to use it powerfully.
Yes, exactly. So the Lord is more concerned about our progression than our comfort. And then we do have that godly power within us to choose, to change, to create. So like let's take full advantage of that. And that's how we can feel that fulfillment. We know we're on the right track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
good.
people who are emotionally mature, they know how to describe their feelings So we mentioned that before as well. So that means, have plenty of vocabulary to describe what you're experiencing. It can be just blah, but then that's not helpful, right? And so we have skills to muscle test, and we have list of different emotions, and then we can explore those things, and then change it. And you don't take offense when you go, oh, I feel negative, or now I'm a negative person, I'm the worst. We don't go there. We say, well, here, girlfriend, it looks like you're feeling negative, and you're like, hey, yes, you're right. And I love that conversation that we can have with each other when we're, emotional mature. And we don't say, well, you think I'm a bad person now. It's none of that. It's just, you're right. I feel guilty. I feel mad. I feel whatever. You're right. Where is this from? What am I thinking? What do I believe in the subconscious, or what does my ancestors believe? Right? What ancestors need my help now? And I like Mushu and Mulan, right? And then we solve it. It's just so nice. Yeah.
That's that safety that comes, that confidence that comes from choosing to be and learning to be emotionally, spiritually mature, where we can express the feelings, where we can talk about it with people and feel safe to do so. But I remember a time, Jade, I will say, I remember times when I would feel an emotion and then I would beat myself up for it. And I know people that do that or have done that in the past. And it's like this double whammy.
Yeah.
Like we did something and then we beat ourselves up for it. And then it's like, I'm no good. I'm not worthy, or I'm not enough. That's really the root of all of it. And I remember something that I learned, like I call it the spirit. The spirit taught me, like, it's very difficult to change from a place of deficiency. So if we're stuck in this place of deficiency, then it's, we're looking for validation from other people. We're looking for validation from our accomplishments or achievements and all of those things. And in the end, those things are going to be a little bit fleeting. We do like to feel, affirmed from other people, but it should be something that is already affirming what we feel about ourselves inside. So there's something that you said that's made an impact on me. It's making peace with your humanity. And we are here on this earth to experience challenges and trials and see if we can overcome them, and also to learn to transcend them. And that's, hopefully it is the result. It's the fruit of being emotionally, spiritually mature, is being able to transcend those hard things. But I'll go back to this item of beating yourself up is not, it is not helpful. That's not going to create the results that you want. And it's for sure, I know not what a loving God would want you to do. He's not doing that. He's just inviting you to rise up. And shift and change however little bit you need to do, and then just keep going.
I love that. So you brought up some really good points there. When we punish ourselves, it's like the natural human tradition, isn't it? So when you make mistakes, there must be a punishment. So even if your parents are not here, you be that parent to yourself, and you beat yourself up anyways. And of course, one way to really hurt you is to tell you that you're not good enough. And then, so, if we have this maturity, we can say, pause. Would God ever say that to me? That's not God's voice ever. I can never imagine a loving, intelligent father, like verbally abusing me that way. So it must be the adversary, right? So you can say, well, adversary, talk to their hand, because I'm not listening to that, right? And then we make peace. I'm human, and I will make mistakes, and that's why we have the atonement of Christ. I mean, the grace of God that covers me every time I make a mistake, because it gives me a redo. But I do have this ability to change the thinking, change the beliefs so that I can have positive emotions, because I understand that emotions drive action. So if I want to do some positive things, I need to kind of resolve things. And so I have this positive emotion of passion, of love, of joy. And then it drives me to do inspired actions, right?
Yes.
That's how I can control and, master myself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, make peace with your humanity. It's
Yeah.
okay. And you don't have to beat yourself up for every little mistake. And if you feel negative feelings, it doesn't mean you're bad. Yeah. Doesn't mean
Yep. I was going to say it, we need to make it safe for each other
yeah.
to feel what we feel and to identify it as a feeling, not as our identity, not taking it personally and saying, this is, I am X, Y, or Z. So I'm feeling X, Y, or Z. And that, what happens is that subconscious brain is just looking for solutions always, right? And it just helps us process um, through it differently when we identify it as a feeling. A feeling can go, right? An identity oftentimes sticks.
Yeah.
And then that subconscious brain decides to believe that, and then we start acting in ways that are in alignment with that identity. So if we can, just reiterate again that it's a feeling, I'm feeling this, not I am this.
Yeah. I like what you said about being safe and making it safe for yourself, so you don't beat yourself up, and make it safe for others so you don't beat others up.
Yeah.
And as coaches, we have people come to us, and what they find is we don't necessarily encourage them to feel good right away. We actually encourage them to explore those negative feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And cry.
Yes. Lots of crying.
Yeah, and
Lots of crying.
feel it all the way, feel it fully, and then you're sobbing like a baby, but it helps you take responsibility, and that's our next point here, to you know we can go through that discomfort, and then take responsibility for changing it, even if it's
Yeah.
inherited patterns. If you think, oh yeah, my grandparents and my parents always do that, but then the buck stops here with me. I choose to change it for them and for everybody that follows me. So let's experience it and then kind of pull it out. I have this visual in my head, like a weed, and you're feeling it. As you're feeling it, you're digging into the root, and then you're digging all the way to the ends of the tippy tips of the root, and then you find where it all started, and then you toss it out when you're done. And then you do feel that relief after you have a good cry.
For sure. I think those tears, those emotions, sometimes it's a really ugly cry. I've done that. But they're like the physical,
Pretty.
they're the physical manifestation of those, imbalanced feelings. And so we've got to let them go somewhere. A lot of people journal. I do that. I'll journal things, or we need to speak them, or we cry them out. But that energy needs to go somewhere.
It does.
And it helps us cleanse from the inside out all of those negative energetic feelings. So
yeah, I love that you said cleanse, because it reminds me of that refining fire, because truly all of us must go through that refining fire, that, and that fire is just that discomfort, that pain momentarily that we have to pass through, and we can't go around it, we can't go under it and over it. It's just, we have to go through it.
we have to go through it. And then there's gold at the end. Literally.
Yes.
When we work with people and with ourselves and each other, and we do this work, we literally feel physically, emotionally, spiritually different when we've allowed ourselves to go through that refining fire and process through it. And it's like pulling out all the dross, right?
Sure.
So that we can get to the pure truth of who we are.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So we'll share these notes with you guys. But yeah, just to recap, the feelings, we recognize where it's located inside of us. We take full responsibility, and then we know the origin of our thoughts and beliefs. Yeah. So that leads us, and we have a few minutes, that leads us to the last part, which is the spiritual maturity. We have to get here eventually to continue to be emotionally mature, right? So the first thing I have here is that, it's just a reminder that we focus on this eternal progression, right? That higher goal, higher good for all. Okay.
Yeah.
If we keep that in mind, we'll remember to stay in the light. So when we have negative emotions, we can explore those emotions and stay in the dark for, a moment. But then we know that eventually, as we pass through this, then we'll have more light.
Yeah. I think the spiritually mature, like, consciously values the progression. Like, they're focused on it, they're taking the action for it, they're aware of where they were last year compared to this year. And it's not comparison against anyone else, it's their former self.
Yeah.
So I think that's a spiritually mature person. And then when you talked about light, a spiritually mature person is sensitive to the degrees of light, like we talked about yesterday. And so we recognize more and more when something is a little bit dark and we don't want to participate in it, or some people call it a low vibration energy, where it's like sucking your energy, or depleting you somehow. And so we can pay attention to whether it's social media or entertainment of all kinds, that we become more sensitive to that. And there's so much good out there that we can choose. So this isn't focusing about what is dark and bad and not good for us. This is about focusing on what is good for us and what is light and love filled. And the spiritually mature person will go towards that, towards the light.
Yeah. Like we're actively accumulating more light. So if we're reading a book or watching a movie that is dark, our energy recognizes that it's being depleted a little bit, then it actively, proactively chooses to change it.
Sure. Yeah. I think included in that is our ability to create more light and to be outward thinkers. And to me, that's also the difference between consuming and creating. Like, if we're just constantly consuming and not giving back or producing things of light, then that causes an imbalance emotionally, and we will feel a lot of those low vibration or low energy emotions, because I believe that we are divine creatures who naturally, like, have an innate desire for more, like creation. Yeah. More light, more love, more truth.
Yeah, we just have that desire, and it takes effort, and so we just have to kind of see that effort as a positive thing, instead of, oh, I have to do work. We say we get to do work, yay, because we have a greater degree of light, and that light really is this divine love. Okay. It gives us that wisdom. It gives us this ability to just feel our souls with that great degree of joy. Yeah. So our next point here is that when we feel that way, we can own our power, our divine power, right? To master ourselves. And mastering ourselves intentionally means we choose to be loving, like you said earlier, return, that love with evil, return love with love. And it's just all positive. So we were saying the other day, what does that love look like, that self-love and that love for others look like? So we listed out that it's, about respecting, respecting ourselves and respecting others. And what that looks like is that we speak civilly, we behave in a civil way. We show gratitude, we communicate clearly. So text, emails, phone number, phone calls, and all that, everything, all our communication, anything that comes from us is positive and respectful of others, whether they are the same way or not. We're intentionally creating more love and light towards the world.
Yeah. We're choosing to be considerate anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To have consideration for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, this idea of responding to people in a timely manner, choosing our words intentionally and mindfully. I think those are some things that have been lost a little bit, and we hope to help people bring that back.
Yeah.
Like you said, that civility and that consideration.
Yeah. And we're like that because we are divine beings.
Yeah.
I'm kind to others, not because they're deserving or not deserving. It's because, of who I really am, to me with my relationship with God, and I encourage them to remember their relationship with God as well by being the example.
Yeah. I think, God gives his grace to me. Can I not pay it forward? I think that's his intention, is like, I have grace for you. Can you have grace for others as well?
Yeah.
So instead of returning what we think is deserved, what our ego mind says, deserved is you, like returning evil with evil.
Yeah, getting even with people.
Getting even. That was the phrase I was looking for. Instead of doing that, we return what is needed.
Yeah.
And like we said, often hurt people. And if we can just return love and consideration and civility to them, then, we leave a better mark on the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. And, when you said these things, I was just thinking about people who fear outshining, because we're trying to be happy and positive, and we fear outshining others. And I have a saying to my kids. I say, we shine not to make them feel bad, but we shine because, we love God and we want to inspire people to be a better version of themselves. So we don't have to be worried about what they think of us. Let them think negatively. They have full permission to not like you, right? It doesn't matter, right? I choose to like and love and forgive people before, I even meet them, before they even do anything. And that's my choice. And that's self-mastery. That's maturity. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm still working on that. But it is, as we practice, as we anchor into God, it just starts to come and be more natural, and it feels so much better.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so easy to slough off the stuff that it isn't serving us well.
Yeah.
And when we have that grace and civility and consideration, and
it is. It's the natural man just wants to be lazy, but we put effort into it, right?
Yeah.
So we have just a few points left here. The next one is that we have, with the spiritual mature people, they have the skills to realign themselves with God again and to reconcile with God again, and what that really means is, you recognize your false beliefs, beliefs that doesn't align to God's gospel or his teachings. Like, I'm the worst, I'm not enough. You pause and you say, well, that doesn't align, because he says that I'm a child of God and I'm beloved and I'm intelligent and I'm like him. I can be like him. So then you can just intentionally say, okay, no, cancel that, right? Or reconcile in another way is, I want this success, I want this outcome, I want. And then, you pray and you want it so badly, but it doesn't happen. Then you say, you know what, maybe God doesn't want me to have that. So let me ask him, do you really want me to have this? I've been asking for this, but I didn't even ask you if that was the right thing for me now, and then if he says no, then you say, okay, I accept. I surrender to your will, best, right? The analogy of the berry bush, in one of the talks that we listened to, the gardener, he prunes down this bush, and he kind of sort of hears this bush saying, why are you cutting me down? And it's like, I'm crying because you're hurting me. But then the gardener says, I know best. I know what I want you to be, this beautiful berry bush, and you'll be able to produce more fruit and then be happier. But just trust me on this. And so when we have this will that we want to impose, we have to pause and recognize, this is actually me. I just want this, and think about all the prophets of old. When the Lord has instructed them to do something, it's not like easy peasy, smooth success every time, and then they're like rich and famous and loved. It's like struggle, struggle, struggle. And you're like, wait a minute, these people are the best people in the world right now. They're the most obedient and righteous people. Why do they have to suffer even more than everyone else? Right. And it's just that refining fire. And then the Lord's like, I know what I'm doing. Just trust me. Like Moses, like, can you just release the Israelites, please? And then the Pharaoh's like, yeah, okay, man, take care, bye. But no, we have to go through all these plagues, and we have to go through, the 40 years in the wilderness and all that. So you think, okay, God knows stuff, right? And we just need to trust it. And that's making peace with humanity, but also making peace with God. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's in Romans where it says, all things can be turned for thy good. I'm paraphrasing, but the key to it is for those that love God, right? Like all things can be turned for our good for those that love God. And so that's a really important principle to understand, is that we anchor into God. Well, we might have to go through trials, but he is going to be there with us. Like he will help strengthen us and see the lesson in it and uphold us as we go through it. Like he's not going to leave us alone, but as long as we're not forgetting him, we don't want to forget him.
And that's the point. That's the point of all of our life, right? So if you want the answer to life, that's it. Can you still connect and trust and love God regardless?
Yeah.
That's it. For
the secret sauce right there.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce. Yeah.
That is it. Last thing here is, it goes right along with what we just said, is the spiritually mature people allow God to teach them eternal truth. So when you have that connection constantly, you have truth. You get to have your eyes open, heart open, and you get to surrender your will, and you go for a ride with God.
Yeah. I just keep thinking, I was thinking as you were speaking, like, what do I do? What do I do to keep that connection open?
Mm-hmm.
And I study his words through scriptures and through prophets of old and current prophets. And I pray and ponder and meditate. And sometimes I go hiking because I feel the voice of God with me when I go hike or I'm in nature. And there's, a myriad of different ways music can teach us. But I think the idea here is to have the intent of our heart is to be connected to him at all times, because he can do anything. So he could teach us when we're in the car driving, right? Like
In the
if we
shower.
in the shower, we get divine downloads or
Right.
revelation comes in the shower, or in the car, or all different places. If our heart is in the right place and we're continually, our heart is drawn out to him, and open and willing to receive what he wants to just give us.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I
yeah.
love that. Yeah, we could keep on going on and on, but as you guys do, we've shared so much already, and hopefully all of this is just juicy information for you. So please connect to us and join our Energy Balancing with Faith course. Okay, be part of this Earth Angel community. There's many of us, and we come together and we have these discussions and we help each other become more spiritually and emotionally mature. Right?
Yes.
We point things out and we say, hey, let's explore that. And then people really learn to be objective, and we find healing. And it's not just physical healing and emotional healing and spiritual healing. It's healing of families, healing of relationships, even finances. So it's just all connected.
It's
Yeah.
all connected, for sure.
Yeah. So any last words you want to share with them, Debbie?
I just really feel that as we embrace this work and help others, like we heal as we help others heal. And that just shows me, again, it's another witness that we are all connected, and that we can impact the world in really positive, beautiful ways by working on ourselves personally. And I see that as I shift and change, then the people around me shift and change as well. Because it's like when my light shines brighter, I give permission for everyone else to shine brighter too.
Yes, I love that. And we can't help it. We want to share. We want to, like our cup overfloweth, and we just look around. Who wants some of this? Because I have so much to give right now.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's so exciting, guys. I love you, Debbie. Thank you for doing this with me and sharing our passion with the world.
My pleasure. It's such a blessing for me. So thank you. And thanks to all of you out there for listening. We hope this has been a blessing for you in your life.
Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.